So guys, yesterday we talked about the South Koreans and what they can actually bring to a tech tree when they get added in the United Tech Tree of Korea, right? And especially and specifically for air, because apparently it got confirmed that the first part of this tech tree will be for air battles, okay, for aircraft. So let's talk a little bit about the North Koreans, the other side. We have technically more options over here, a lot more actually, but at the same time, they are more copy-paste, right? Because at the end of the day, the South Koreans, they had more of a different, perspective, so they had modifications and different things, and the North Koreans, they got um, more stuff, but in different models, right? But at the end of the day, especially in the Cold War, but at the end of the day, it is less unique, I must say, okay? So let's talk about all of them. And remember, guys, of course, this is not all vehicles, and some of them might be wrong because there is so little info on these vehicles. It's really almost impossible to find confirmation about some of these. Like, it's really, really a very difficult thing to do. I don't know how Gaijin will actually find stuff about these vehicles because it's just, yeah, especially for tanks in the future. But yeah, let's get going. So we're gonna do a little bit of a different way. We're gonna show to you guys, since there's so many copy pastes over here, we're gonna actually show on the hangar the vehicles that you're gonna see, okay? Something like this. So yeah, let's actually start from the beginning. From fighters, especially, we're gonna talk about the fighters first, and then afterwards, the actual attackers and bombers and stuff, and also, coming from the props all the way to the jets, okay? So the first vehicle that we can see is a Yak-9, guys. Yeah, a normal Yak-9, like this 3.0, something very similar to this, will be probably one of the first vehicles we see. I don't know how they will start the tech tree, if it's going to be like Israel that starts in a higher BR or something, but yeah, in a general perspective, this is one of the first vehicles that they can add, unless they really, I'm talking about the the Korea from post World War II, right? So yeah, that would be one of the first ones. Also, of course, the Yak-9P, which is one of the best Yak-9s that we have. So it would be a very similar vehicle to this one as well. The Russians sold them, right? As well, the normal Yak-9P as well. So these are the two ones that you will probably see. Another prop that it's a fighter that we might actually see is a vehicle that doesn't get a lot of attention, but yeah, it is pretty much, we have that in the Russians as well, but I'm going to show here on the Chinese. The LA-11, sorry. I mean, it's an LA-9 as well, right? So yeah, it can actually come even with, let me find it if it actually worked, the camouflage that it was going to show. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, something like this, but being an LA-11 probably, okay? So very cool, of course. And let's see how it is actually going to be implemented. But probably an LA-9 or LA-11, probably the 11 will be added, okay? So for prop fighters, this is it. But then we start with the jet era, right? Shortly after, and together with the Korean War, we had the MiG-15, normal MiG-15 like this. We even have the normal, Korean People's Army Air Force, right? I think it's called Army Republic Air Force. I don't remember the name exactly, but yeah, a normal MiG-15 can come as well. That in that tech tree, right? We can even have some cool skins like this. Ignore this thing. Oh my god. But yeah, something like this could come, which is very cool, right? But of course, even the BIS model as well. The BIS model can have its Korean version as well, which is a little bit better. It already uses the VK1 engine, much better than the original one, which uses basically a oversized or almost the same size. It's kind of a weird thing, but the initial ones had kind of a British engine copied in the Soviet Union, right? So the VK1 already brings a lot more thrust, and of course, with that in mind, we go to another vehicle that is already in the game. Yes, we already have that vehicle, and you should expect this thing to come for that tech tree as well, which is the Shenyang F5. The Shenyang F5, guys, is for sure going to be added. It is a premium vehicle on the Chinese, but I would assume that this thing will come to the tech tree. And yeah, basically here we have a Chinese-built MiG-17F, okay? being a MiG-17F. It has the VK-1F, in this case the WP-5, right? Which has an afterburner, right? And also, of course, it can carry the PL-2 missiles. So yeah, you will probably see these. We have even a different skin over here. Let's take a look. But yeah, like a Chinese one, right? For the J5, it would be something like that. But you get the point, right? So yeah, North Korea will receive the MiG-17F, Chinese-built MiG-17F, right? Another Chinese-built vehicle will be the J6. In this case, in the Chinese tech tree here, we have the J6A, right? In the actual Korean, I don't know why it's not loading the textures there, but in the Korean one, we will see the F6C, which is a MiG-19S. Yes, it is going to be basically a Chinese-built MiG-19S. So 3 cannons, no radar, and maybe missiles, maybe not missiles. It's something that it's opened because it's, like I said, it's very hard to find information about this. I would love to see the J6C, the F6C, sorry, which is the exported model of the J6, which is the Chinese-built MiG-19. But I would love to see this aircraft with missiles because it would be the first one. I mean, we had one like this in the files, but it never got added for the Soviets. So MiG-19S, which has extra punching power with the guns, it is lighter. The radar is somewhat useless at these BRs, somewhat for arcade and realistic battles. And with that in mind, of course, in simulator it will be much better. But with that in mind, having the lighter one with the extra punch with the missiles would be very cool. So it will be basically the same as you see right here, but with Korean markers. Okay. Another one, of course, then we talk about the MiG-21s. MiG-21s will have plenty of versions that they used. They started with the MiG-21 F-13. Yes, the F-13 is the one that is one of them that can be added. So at the end of the day, we don't have any camouflages for Korea over here, but it would be very similar to this. It would be able to use the PL2 or R3S, right? It would only have 130mm and be exactly the same as the F-13 that we have in the Soviet tech tree. Not only that, we can have the J7-1, which is another version of the J7 that we have in the Chinese tech tree. What would be the difference? Well, here you would see the 2 cannons instead of the 1 in the F-13, the missiles, everything, but you wouldn't receive the extra power that the J7-2 has, okay? So the J7-1, of course, in the North Koreans, it would be called the F7-1, which is an exported model of the J7, right? And it would be basically an earlier model of this vehicle here. So we can have the F-13 with 1 gun and basically an F-13 with 2 guns because the J7-2 has an extra thrust, okay? So, yeah, that would be the initial MiG-21s. We also would have a PFM, right? Which is one of my favorite MiG-21s in the game. So the PFM, of course, introduces a little bit more fuel over here. Also, a little bit more thrust with an upgraded version of the R11 and a proper radar with the first proper iterations of the RP-21. Of course, in real life, the PF was the first one to use, but the PFM is much better because it has a way of using the gun in a pod down here, which is something that the PF couldn't do, right? So sorry about the textures are weird in some skins for some reason, but yeah. So you would already have the Grisha 23, right, instead of the 30. It has a little bit more fuel and extra power and a radar. So this version of the MiG-21 can also be added. Again, guys, they are all the same BR because we have a lot of compression in the game, but they are very different. This one is much better than the F-13. It's a completely different aircraft almost. It's just much, much better. Of course, we have to talk about also the MF. Yes, they used the MF MiG-21, so you can expect that as well. We have here in the German tech tree, of course, the upgrade here is that in real life, it had a better radar. In the game, it's the same. More thrust with finally the R13 engine, which is insanely better than the R11s. It's just a much better engine. And of course, like I said, for pylons, a built-in Grisha 23. So instead of the pod in the PFM, now you have an internal gun. So yeah, just a much, much better vehicle. Almost the same as the BIS, but with a different engine, different loadouts, a different BR, right? Of course, You can use R60s on this thing, R3Rs and everything. So a very good vehicle, okay? And the last MiG-21, obviously, that the North Koreans could actually see is the MiG-21 bis. So the bis is one that, of course, is always present in these factories, of course. So everything that the bis has, it would have it. Apparently, it came from Kazakhstan in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. So it isn't like a normal Soviet-built MiG-21 bis that was developed for North Korea. You know, it was just a second-hand MiG-21, if I'm not mistaken. But like I said, very different, very hard to find information on it. In real life, it had some upgrades on the radar as well. In the game, it is the same. R25 engine. So this is the ultimate engine. It's an evolution of the R13, right? This is the first one that actually uses a second stage afterburner, producing up to certain altitudes, very low to the ground, an emergency power that you can produce more than 10 kilonewtons more. I mean, they say it's 73 kilonewtons here of thrust, but this thing can actually bring up to like a 90 or 100 or something like that in the low altitude. So it's an incredible engine. The R13 was already an incredible turbojet. This is the ultimate version of the R13, basically, right? The R25 uses, like I said, the second stage afterburner technology, which is something that the Soviets used in other aircraft as well, like the MiG-23 and stuff. So, if I'm not mistaken, in some engines. If I'm not mistaken, the R35 uses similar-ish technology, but I have to check. But anyway, guys, it's a pretty interesting vehicle because it is the same as the MF, okay? It is the exact same as the MF in-game with extra power, okay? Of course, it has a higher BR because it has better missiles. So, obviously, it can carry the R13M. It can carry, finally, the all-aspect R60M. And overall, it's just a better vehicle, okay? So, this is probably going to be the last MiG-21 that you see in the North Korean tech tree. Then we go for the MiG-23s. And the MiG-23s, it is pretty interesting because the only confirmation that we have, guys, it is on the ML, okay? The only confirmation that I had that they actually use this vehicle in the version that they use is the ML. It's going to be the exact same as the ML, okay? R24s or R23 missiles, R60s, RP23 radar, so the Sapphire, right? With the ML package. Of course, this would be kind of an exported model version of the ML, but it's still on par, and it would be the exact same, for example, as the German MLA without the upgrades of the A, right? So it's pretty much just the ML that we see here. In real life, it had some differences in IFF, radios, and of course, in the radar being a little bit worse, you know, but in a general perspective, it would be basically in the game the same as the MiG-23 ML that you see right here, okay? Why do I say that it's the only one confirmed? Because there are other ones. Yes, there are some people that claim that the MF was actually used, which would be the exact same as this one, which is the export model of the M. But I couldn't confirm it, and there is no reliable sources confirming or photos or anything that they actually use the MF, okay? So the only photos that you have is normally photos like this, which is, you can clearly see it is an ML version, right? Or ML Plus. It doesn't have the flares over here, but it is using the flare pod down there, probably, or a pylon upgrade, or like the fuel tank upgrade, like fuel tank thing, right? So in a general sense, it is very, very hard to find if they ever use the MF, okay? Like I said, the only confirmation that we have, it is the ML, like you see right here in these pictures. So probably you can expect the ML. More than that, I have no idea. No MLA, no MLD, nothing like that. The ML version that we have as a premium for the Russians as coming for here. Remember that at the end of the day, it's very minor things that change between these three models, the ML, MLA, and MLD, but in the game, right? MLD, for example, changes up a little bit more because it can turn more and stuff, but at the end of the day, it doesn't change much, okay? And then, of course, at the end of the line, we will see MiG-29s. Yes, for fighters, the MiG-29 is one of the last vehicles you are gonna get. So, which MiG-29? So, one of them will be the 912B. Just like we see here, you will see a 912B for the North Koreans. The exact same as the Hungarian one, okay? This is the one that they received in the late 80s. They received like 12 of them and some trainers. So this would be probably like it's gonna be the exact same as we see in the game here. They never use the R-27ER, if I'm not mistaken, but of course this doesn't matter. For guarding, you know, if the aircraft can use it, it will use it, so it will be the exact same as the MiG-29 over here. But they also have a different version. So in the 90s, in the early 90s, the Russians sold the 913 to them. Yes, it would be the exact same as this one in real life with one minor difference that in the game doesn't matter, which is the ECM. So this one had ECM internally of the vehicle, right? And the North Korean one wouldn't have ECM, right? So it would be just the extra fuel tank, you know, the extra fuel over here, the extra electronics and stuff would be removed. It has a little bit more fuel, the same radar, same missiles, everything, right? There are some sources that claim that this vehicle actually got upgraded to the S model in the 90s, so that it could actually take like R-77s and stuff. No idea, no confirmation, but it's something that Gaijin will have to try to find out, right? And there is one little thing. So there are some pictures that I wanted to show to you guys. This is from 2025. This is from this year, okay? So you can see a certain person over here and the MiG-29s, right? And apparently they are trying to upgrade these MiG-29s, right? So they have some form of new missile. No information about this missile whatsoever. Some new bombs as well, guided and stuff. So I have no idea about any of these, okay? But they did test these missiles, apparently, with live firing. They have the records of how many they did. I don't remember, but they are improving, and they have like 2 prototypes of these or something like that. They are improving. So probably we'll have a better radar, Chinese build or something like that. New missile that looks a mix between a Sparrow and a AIM-120 and a PL-12, right? And you can see the missile over here, a little bit closer to the PL-12 even. But yeah, there is some form of development that they are doing, upgrading these MiG-29s, and this will be the only thing that we can have that it's more modern Fox 3s. Maybe if Gaijin finds out what missile is this exactly, what can actually be added over here. So it's pretty difficult to find any information about this thing, to be honest. I found basically nothing, just that it appears like a PL-12 and an AIM-120, something like that. But they already tested this missile this year, right? So it's probably not going to be in operation for a little while, on the very least, right? But they are at least firing this missile. So the missile, it's not a mock-up, right? It's an actual missile that they try to use. So like I said, this is a very difficult thing to find out. No idea what this missile actually is, but they are trying to introduce this missile to their main fighter, which is the MiG-29, okay? So, yeah, this is for fighters. This is it. No 5th generations, no brand new stuff. This is it, okay? From Yak-9s to MiG-29. Then we have some bombers, some stuff like that. We will have an IL-10, okay? So, yeah, the IL-10 will be added, probably. The North Koreans did use it, even in the Korean War itself. So, yeah, something like this can be expected, which is pretty good. Also, the H-5, which is, of course, the last bomber of the Chinese tech tree over here, which is what it is, a North Korean or a Chinese-built IL-28, right? So it is probably going to be added as well. Nothing crazy to talk about here. In the regards of other bombers, they have the Su-7 BMK, okay? With the BMK is basically the exported model of the BM, which is one of the upgrades that we have here. And of course, yeah, we already have it in the game, like I showed you guys. And it was used by many countries. Nothing crazy to say. It's going to be the exact same as this. Just some bombs and stuff, no missiles, and some rockets. So very cool aircraft, actually, especially because it does have CCIP-4 rockets, which is great, right? So it is a pretty good, pretty good premium, right? Especially for ground attack, it's just very good at these BRs, right? So yeah, a very interesting aircraft that will probably come. Exactly the same as this Egyptian BMK of the Russians over here. Of course, the Su-25K. So the Su-25K is obviously the exported model of the Su-25. It will come as well. They use up to this day. Apparently, there are some people saying that they might be, modernize it or anything. Not gonna talk too much about it. Don't know. But yeah, normal Su-25K. they will have a similar-ish camouflage to this thing, you know, so it's a very common camouflage for them to use, this white camouflage, which is beautiful, beautiful. And then the last one, which is a bit controversial because there's not a lot of info on it, but basically, apparently, they did use some form of Q5 in the past, okay? So it's hard to find information about this because there isn't a single photo that I could find with them. Literally, like they say, there's no photo of it, but apparently in the 70s, they received some of these and were in operation since like up to the 80s or something. So, or in the 80s, I don't know exactly. Very, very little information on these vehicles, okay? But apparently they did use, at a certain point in their life, the Q5, okay? So you might see Q5. So like you see, that's why I was actually showing in the hangar over here, because every single vehicle here is a copy-paste of a vehicle that we already have in the game with some minor differences, right? So nothing crazy, nothing different. There are other vehicles out there, helicopters and other vehicles that I don't have the time to talk about every single vehicle, but this is what you should expect from the North Koreans. Nothing crazy, and to be honest, South Koreans will have a little bit more of a uniqueness to it, but of course the North Koreans can feel the tech tree a little bit more. And at the same time, the South Koreans will be the ones that I think are the best ones for the top tier part of this tech tree, because of course the best vehicle that North Koreans have is a MiG-29, okay? So basically this is it. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and bye guys, see ya.